Who can save us?
Hello, Gotham! Batgirl here.
So as we know, James Gunn is putting together his own version of the DC Universe with some fresh twists. Now, it's time for him to decide whether he wants Barbara Gordon or Cassandra Cain to be Batgirl in his DCU. Plus, there are rumors floating around that Jenna Ortega might land the role. Let's dive into everything we know so far about Project Shell, shall we? As we know, Jenna Ortega hasn't stepped into the world of comic book or superhero movies just yet, but if DC is thinking about rebooting Batgirl in their new cinematic universe, I think that she'd actually be a pretty strong contender. Her rise in Hollywood has been pretty impressive lately, mostly because of how popular she's become thanks to her starring role in Wednesday on Netflix. But it's not just that one show. She's also shown off her skills in the recent Scream movies and the horror flick X, which have helped her build a loyal fan base and gain recognition as a serious young talent. Because Ortega is still in her early 20s, casting her as a younger Barbara Gordon could make a lot of sense for DC's upcoming reboot phase, which is kicking off with Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. It would be a great way to reintroduce Batgirl while also bringing in a fresh face who could stick around for years. Plus, it would give DC Studios the chance to spotlight a Latina actress in a major superhero role, something the genre could definitely use more of. Even though Batgirl hasn't officially been confirmed for any upcoming DC projects, Barbara Gordon is such a well-known and important character that it wouldn't be surprising if she shows up sooner rather than later. There's also the fact that the Bat family is expected to play a part in The Brave and the Bold, one of the new DC movies in development. So it's totally possible Batgirl could pop up there, even if it's just in a supporting role. And if they do decide to include her, casting someone like Ortega would immediately draw a lot of attention, not just from comic book fans, but from general audiences too. It's the kind of move that could add serious buzz and star power to the movie. Although nothing's set in stone and there's been no official word from James Gunn or DC Studios about Batgirl's future in the new universe, that doesn't stop people from speculating. Ortega's name keeps coming up because it just makes sense. She's got the acting chops, the fan support, and the right energy for a modern take on Barbara Gordon. But for now, it's all just potential. The DC Universe reboot is still in the early stages, so we'll have to wait and see what direction they actually go with Batgirl, and whether Jenna Ortega ends up being part of that story. So when it comes to the future of Batgirl in James Gunn's new DC Universe, fans are left wondering, which version will he go with? Barbara Gordon or Cassandra Cain? They've both worn the cape and cowl, and they've both built serious legacies, just in totally different ways. Everyone loves Batgirl, but who really nails the role? That's where the debate kicks in, because while they both shine in their own right, their strengths couldn't be more different. Barbara Gordon is the original blueprint for Batgirl, the version most people think of first. She's smart, resourceful, and one of the sharpest minds in the DCU. Her photographic memory and leadership as Oracle gave her a level of influence that went way beyond just punching bad guys. She wasn't just part of the action, she was the one behind the scenes making sure everything worked. And although she's no slouch in a fight, she's never really been known for hand-to-hand combat the way other Bat family members are. That's where Cassandra Cain flips the script. She's one of the best fighters in all of DC, period. Raised from childhood to be a living weapon, Cassandra can read body language so well, it's like she's predicting every move before it happens, sometimes even better than Batman himself. But it's not all punches and pressure points. Because she grew up with such an intense focus on combat, Cassie struggles with things that easily come to most people, like communication and social interaction. So while she's deadly on the battlefield, she's also dealing with a bunch of personal challenges that make her story feel incredibly grounded. And the thing is, both versions of Batgirl serve the role in a unique way. Barbara sees it as a symbol of independence and personal agency. She's put on the suit by choice and then redefined herself as Oracle after tragedy. For Cassandra, Batgirl was a chance to belong to something bigger, a way to honor the legacy of heroes before her while forging a new path of her own. That contrast is what makes them both so compelling. So if James Gunn is planning to include Batgirl in the upcoming Brave and the Bold or anywhere else in Chapter 1 of the DCU, the choice won't just be about which version fans like best, it'll depend on what kind of story he wants to tell. If it's a detective-driven, leadership-heavy story, Barbara fits the mold. But if he's leaning into gritty action with emotional depth, then Cassandra might be the way to go. Honestly, there's no wrong answer, just two very different shades of awesome. But if we look a bit into their comic book origins, it helps us understand what each Batgirl brings to the table and which might suit James Gunn's DC Universe best. Barbara Gordon first showed up as Batgirl back in Detective Comics number 359 in 1967. She's the daughter of Gotham's police commissioner, James Gordon, so her connection to Batman is pretty natural. Unlike some heroes who stumble into their roles, Barbara decided to become Batgirl because she wanted to prove herself and help fight crime in Gotham alongside Batman and Robin. She's super smart, tech-savvy, and while she's skilled enough to hold her own in fights, her biggest strengths are her brain and her leadership. After a tragic encounter with the Joker left her paralyzed, Barbara reinvented herself as Oracle, the ultimate hacker and strategist, proving her heroism didn't depend on being in a costume. Cassandra Cain's origin is way darker and more intense. She's the daughter of two deadly assassins, David Cain and Lady Shiva, raised almost entirely in silence and trained from birth to be the perfect fighter. Her early life was so focused on combat and survival that she barely spoke and had difficulty with social skills. Cassandra took on the Batgirl mantle around 1999, becoming a more physically intense and mysterious character. Unlike Barbara, Cass relies almost entirely on her fighting skills, using her unique ability to read body language to predict her opponent's moves, almost like a human weapon. Her story is one of redemption and trying to find her place in the world beyond violence. So, which Batgirl fits better into James Gunn's vision for the new DC Universe? Well, it depends on the tone and style he wants to lean into. If Gunn's DCU is aiming for a mix of grounded storytelling, strong character development, and a blend of brains and brawn, like we've seen in some of his previous work, Barbara Gordon might be the ideal Batgirl. She offers a rich backstory connected to Gotham's law enforcement, has that classic hero legacy, and her role as Oracle means there's a ton of potential for tech-driven storylines and leadership moments. Plus, Barbara's story about overcoming tragedy and reinventing herself could bring a lot of emotional depth to the DCU. On the other hand, if Gunn wants to inject the franchise with some serious, high-energy action and explore themes of identity and redemption through a more mysterious and tough-as-nails character, Cassandra Cain could steal the spotlight. Her darker origin and combat skills would fit perfectly in a grittier, fight-heavy story, especially if the DCU plans to expand the Bat family's more intense, street-level side. Her struggles with social interaction and her search for belonging could also add a powerful emotional layer that complements Gunn's often character-driven approach. In the end, both Barbara and Cassandra have everything it takes to be great Batgirls on the big screen. Barbara might bring that classic cerebral hero vibe, while Cassandra offers the raw, intense physicality and emotional complexity. Whichever James Gunn chooses, it's clear Batgirl will be a fascinating and essential part of the new DC Universe, and fans are in for a treat no matter who wears the cape. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.